Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we are with Polly. She's from England and she will be sharing with us a life experience, thoughts and feelings, as always. Yeah. Okay. Hello, Polly. How old are you, Polly? How old
am I? I am 59. I'm going to be 60 in January, which is at the moment is 5 months away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was your childhood?
Well, I had an interesting childhood. I grew up mainly in the English countryside, so we had a lot of freedom. We'd go and play on the downs, the big rolling hills there. And I lived with my parents and my younger brother, and we had dogs and guinea pigs and rabbits. And then when I was 11, things changed quite a lot because my father got a job to go and work in Paris.
Oh.
So we all went to Paris, which was a huge shock. We went from the middle of the English countryside to a little village to a big city, which I'd never experienced in that way. And I went to school and I had to learn in a foreign language, in French. So it was a big change for the family.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you learn from this stage?
What did I learn? I think I just learned the world was a lot bigger. I mean, the place I lived in, a small English village, was very, it was nice, there were nice people, but it was a lot of the same. And then suddenly you go to Paris, there's an explosion of people, it's different languages, it's different nationalities. And the class I was in at school was all people who had English as their first language and were learning French. There were Americans, there were Cambodians, there were Venezuelans, there were Ghanaians, Egyptians, English people, British people from all over the world, and it really changed things for me because I hadn't had that experience before.
Oh wow, that sounds very changeable.
Yeah, big change.
How was your adolescence?
Well, it was quite difficult. I was quite unhappy for most of my adolescence. I was very uncomfortable with myself. I was very uncomfortable with my skin. I sort of lacked confidence about how I was. My parents had a very difficult relationship when I was an adolescent. They were very unhappy and the home was not a happy place. I was very political, so I was very angry all the time. I had very strong feelings about what was right and what was wrong. But some of it was really nice. I still have some of my best friends are still my friends from when I was a teenager, when I was an adolescent.
So your adolescence were here?
No, it was in England, yeah, but in the south of England. Yeah, we came back. We only spent a year in Paris, so I was back for my adolescence in England.
Okay. What did you learn from that stage?
I don't know. It's really hard to say what did I learn from that stage. I don't know. I think I probably learned that for me, it's very important to speak the truth. So that's, I think, what I learned in my adolescence. That the truth is difficult, but it is important.
It's necessary. It's important, yeah. How was your relationship with your parents?
Well, it was very mixed, I mean, my parents had a very difficult, very unhappy marriage. So when I was an adolescent, I hated my father. I thought everything was his fault and I wanted my mother to leave him. When I was 18, I realised it wasn't all his fault, that he wasn't particularly well, he wasn't a very happy man, and that some of the bad behaviours that he was showing were about that. And, he did love me. I know he loved me and I loved him. My mum, was the one who I was always supporting and defending, but actually, ironically, I had a very difficult relationship with her because she always pretended that everything was okay when it wasn't okay, and I found it difficult then. I find it difficult now. And the irony is that my father is one of the very few people in my life who I think really saw me for who I am and could connect with me. And he was funny. My father was funny. He was witty, and I like humour. That's important to me. And my mum had no sense of humour. But I think what I just want to say is that both my parents really loved me and did the best for me and my brother, and so I really loved them. But my day-to-day conversations and relationships were difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What did you learn from your mom?
I suppose I learned to work really, really hard. And that if you want to do anything, you have to make it happen. And I also learned she loved drama and I work in drama, so I guess I learned that from her. And she loved to read books, English literature, and I love books too.
What do you mean with drama? Sorry, drama. I don't know, in TVs or.
What do I do? I do radio drama. I make radio audio
okay.
drama. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we learned those sorts of things from my mum. Maybe she was very sweet. She wanted me to be confident. She wasn't confident when she was growing up. She wanted me to have confidence, and I learned confidence from her for sure.
Yeah. And what did you learn from your dad?
What did I learn from my dad? I don't know really. What did I learn from my dad? My dad was a scientist, and I'm not very scientific, so he was always trying to teach me science things. So, my dad sort of, I suppose what I learned from my dad is that my way of looking at the world is not the only way. And I think I learned that, people don't always behave right, and sometimes that is because they're not very well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Did you experience a divorce?
Did I experience
a divorce?
No, I've never been married.
Okay. Oh, a separation.
Yeah, I've had a separation.
Separation. Yeah. How old were you when you got that separation?
Well, it was 12 years ago, so I was 47. Yeah, I was 47.
47. And your children, how old were they when you got that?
At the time, I think they were 10 and 7.
10 and 7.
I think so.
Was the separation peaceful?
No.
No at all. Mm-hmm. What did you learn from that experience?
I learned you have to work really, really hard, and nobody is going to know what you have to do to survive in those circumstances. That it's very lonely, because I suppose, and what else did I learn? I don't know, it's hard to kind of define learning, I suppose. I learned that I could do things, practical things that I thought I couldn't do, and that was quite good. And I learned I could survive, and that was good.
Very good.
I think that's important, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay. Great lessons.
Yeah.
And if you had the power to change something from your life, what would it be?
Just one thing.
If you have more, one more. If you don't think there.
I think I would try and think about things less. I think a lot about things. I really think about them, and I go, oh. And I'm not somebody who can just relax and kind of go, oh, I don't care, I'm going to enjoy this moment. So I think I overthink a lot.
Oh, okay.
I would change that if I could, because then I think everything else around me, I would be able to perhaps deal with it more comfortably. I don't know.
Yeah. What does love mean to you?
I think love is incredibly painful.
It's incredibly painful.
I think it's incredibly painful. I think, I think I have a lot of love in my life from my friends, and a lot of love in life from my children, which is really important to me, and that's a very strong feeling. That makes me feel very strong and very happy. But I think when you fall in love, when you give love to other people, it also means that you are very exposed. Mm-hmm. Because if something happens to that person, like your children, you will be very upset, or if somebody doesn't love you back, then you will be heartbroken. So I think love is quite a dangerous game. Yeah. I mean, I'm not like, oh, it's just a game, but I'm saying dangerous game because it has that possibility. But I think at the bottom of it, love is very important. I think whatever growing up is for children, so long as they know that they are loved, then I think they'll probably be okay. Because if we feel loved and we feel valued, I think that's what I think I'm saying.
Okay. Interesting. What does forgiveness mean to you?
I find it very difficult to forgive. Very difficult. I'm not good at that. I carry things around with me for years. Yeah, go on.
No, for years. I will just ask you for how long.
Yeah, okay. The question was, what do I think it is, or how do I feel about it?
What do you mean?
What do I mean?
Forgiveness mean to you?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, forgiveness means to let go. I think forgiveness is to let go of something, to be able to move on from it, which is important and can be very, very constructive if you can move on from something.
Yes.
Or if you can give forgiveness. I mean, either you've done something wrong and someone's forgiven you, or you have had something wrong done to you and you have forgiven them.
What's your passion in this life?
Well, I love my children. I love my work. I love my allotment. I love growing things.
You have a very new relationship with your nature. With nature.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I think nature, and that's something probably I learned from my father because he was a botanist and a biologist, and he felt very passionate about, the outside world. And when we were young, he was making us eat broccoli when nobody talked about broccoli being so good for you. And he was very conscious of human relationship to the natural world from a scientific point of view, which is a very specific point of view. But I think that was something he gave us. Yeah. So what else am I passionate about? I'm quite passionate about justice. I think, I still feel political. I don't do as much political things, but I think my politics are always driven from a sense of rage or anger about injustice, particularly for women. I've always felt very strongly about women's rights and our right to be who we are and have control over our bodies.
When you are having hard times, what do you do to feel better?
Well, sometimes I just do things that aren't very helpful, like just drink, and get drunk. That's not very helpful. But if I'm really having a hard time and I really need to keep going, I will make sure that I go away from the problem, or I get away from the issue. So I'll go outside, I'll go for a walk, I go to the gym, which I really like because I do think too much and I'm often sat in front of a computer. For me, it's really nice just to go and do something physical, let my brain free. So yeah, when I'm struggling with something, I try and go away from it and come back to it with a different attitude.
I know this is not part of the questions, but your parents are still alive? No, both of them.
Both dead, yeah.
Okay. Did you feel that you broke some of the patterns from each?
When they died or before?
No, before. While you were, or during your life. During your life.
That's a good question. Well, I did actually, because actually thinking about your question about forgiveness, I managed to find a way to sort of forgive both of them for what I felt they had done wrong. I mean, they were great parents in many ways, and they worked so hard, and they were both, my mother was working class, my father was lower middle class, they worked really hard, they made a beautiful life for us. They gave us a lot, they gave us all the opportunities they could. But there were a lot of emotional problems, which I was always very angry about. And then, it wasn't until I was about in my 50s, and I managed to kind of go, okay, they're not going to change. They don't see the world the way you do. But you can't just keep thinking and reacting to them because of the past. So I think I did manage to move on and change that pattern. But I had to do some difficult things, like, I stopped going to my mother's house. I didn't go there. So
your parents carry on being together?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
So they didn't divorce?
No,
okay. No. So we can say you broke the pattern there, because you took the separation. You separated. You took the decision to separate.
Yeah.
Okay, and I guess that was because your parents' situation that you lived before?
No, I don't think, well, yeah, maybe. It would have influenced it, won't it? Because I think my parents should have separated, but they didn't. And I always was cross that they didn't. So I think I didn't want to put my children and myself through, it wasn't the same. It was different. Every relationship is different, but it was not a happy partnership. So I wanted for it to be different, to be better and less painful for the children in particular.
Are you in peace?
No. I'm quite a stressy, quite a tense person.
Are you happy?
Do you know, a really interesting friend of mine who does a lot of work with very, very disabled children, like incredibly disabled children, and he does a lot of thinking around, you know, the ideas of what it is to be happy. And he read something, I don't know whose theory it is, it's not his, he read it somewhere, that it's not about being happy, it's about thriving. And I thought that was such a good way of looking at the world, because people say, oh, are you happy? You deserve to be happy. You know, happiness this, happiness that. Nobody's happy all the time. What is happiness? You know, you just don't go, well, I don't think they are. So for me, I am pretty happy, but more importantly than that, I'm actually mainly enjoying my life, and I think I'm thriving, and I think my children are, and that's the important thing.
Okay, thank you very much for this lovely interview. Thank you everyone to join us. Thank you for sharing your life experience, your thoughts and feelings, and hope if you need take something from this interview, please take it. And well, please carry on, everyone. And see you in the next interview. Bye-bye.
Bye.